It was me. I took the $10,000. Nobody else had anything to do with it. I respect that you came forward. I do. But respect isn't the same as forgiveness, Lucas. You stole from this company.
Lucas Bennett, you have been found guilty of stealing from Kestrel Financial Group. I hereby sentence you to 18 months in prison.
There is a saying, "It is foolish for a man to spend money he does not have, to buy what he does not need, to impress people he barely knows." Please subscribe, like, comment, and share to bless others. Now let's continue the story. Valerie and Lucas sent out over 200 wedding invitations. They believed at least half their guests would come. Not one person showed up. You must be wondering why. Picture the room. White tables, empty chairs, a cake nobody cut. How does a wedding like that end with nobody in the room? This is not a story about a bad man. It is a story about a good man who made one bad choice. Lucas was respected by everyone who knew him. He worked hard. He was so serious about his faith that people at his job called him pastor. Out of every woman who wanted to marry him, Lucas chose Valerie. She was the most beautiful woman in the church. That choice would change his life forever. There is a saying, looks can tell you who a person seems to be. They cannot tell you who that person becomes. When life gets hard times were already on their way. They would arrive during the very counseling sessions meant to prepare them for marriage. It was something they could have avoided, but that is what peer pressure can do to a person.
Sister Valerie, wait!
Please subscribe, like, comment, and share to bless others. Now let's continue the story. Lucas worked as a senior accountant for a mid-sized company downtown. 9 years there, never once late, never once careless. On a Thursday evening, most of the office had already gone home. The lights down the hallway were off, one by one. Lucas was still at his desk, going through a vendor report line by line, because one number in it was $12 off, and $12 to Lucas still mattered. He found the error before he left that night. He always did. Richmond, the company's CEO, had learned a long time ago that if Lucas signed off on something, there was no need to check it twice. Lucas was one of the few people in that building Richmond trusted with anything. His coworkers noticed the same thing Richmond did. Over the years, it earned him a name.
If Lucas signed off on it, you know it's clean.
They called him Pastor, half as a joke, because of how seriously he took every dollar that passed through his hands, half because they meant it. Lucas didn't just work like a man who feared God. He lived like one too. It showed outside the office as much as inside it. Lucas drove a car that was 10 years old, paid off in full years ago. He lived in a modest one-bedroom apartment, even though his salary could have carried something far nicer. He wasn't saving toward anything specific. He simply believed a man should live below what he earns, not above it.
If you can't pay cash for it, you don't need it yet.
That was something Lucas said often. Whenever a coworker asked how he managed to stay so calm about money while everyone else seemed to be drowning in debt. He had lived by it for years, and it had never once failed him. Lucas looked at his life. Steady job, clean name, a little money saved, and felt like a man who had done things the right way. He didn't know it yet. But that same belief, the one thing he trusted most about himself, was about to be tested by the one person he trusted most with his heart. Valerie sang in the church choir. She was the kind of woman people noticed the moment she walked into a room. Not just for how she looked, but for how easily she laughed, how quickly she made a stranger feel welcome. Valerie worked as a receptionist at a dental office not far from the church. She had grown up in a house where her parents always made room for one more guest at the table, no matter how little there was to go around. Something in her still believed that mattered more than anything money could buy. Every unmarried woman in that church had an opinion about Lucas. He had a good job. He had his own car, fully paid for. He lived alone in an apartment nice enough that people talked about it after service. More than one woman had found a reason to bring him a plate of food after a potluck, just to have an excuse to talk to him.
If I were 20 years younger, I'd have gotten to him first.
That was the kind of joke people made about Lucas, half laughing, half serious. Valerie noticed something different about him than the rest of them did. She noticed that he stayed to help stack chairs after every service. even when nobody was watching to see him do it. She noticed that he never raised his voice, not even the day the sound system failed twice during worship. She liked him before she ever thought about what he had.
He's not trying to impress anyone. That's what I like about him.
That's what she told a friend, the first Sunday she really talked to him. Lucas noticed her too, and not only because she was beautiful. Valerie had a warmth to her that filled a room the moment she walked into it, the exact opposite of his own quiet, careful nature. Out of every woman in that congregation who had ever smiled his way, he found himself thinking about her long after service had ended. They started slow. Coffee after church. A walk, once, that turned into 3 hours neither of them noticed passing. Valerie's father liked him immediately. A steady man, a church-going man, the kind of son-in-law any father would be glad to have. 6 months in, Lucas knew. He proposed on an ordinary Sunday afternoon in the parking lot outside her apartment with no crowd and no music, because that felt more like him than anything elaborate would have. Valerie said yes before he even finished the sentence. They told the church the following Sunday. The whole congregation clapped. A few of the women who had once brought Lucas a plate of food clapped loudest of all, and meant every bit of it. For a while, it really was that simple. Then the wedding planning began, and simple started to feel a lot more complicated. Premarital counseling started 3 months before the wedding date they'd picked. Every couple in their church went through it before the pastor would agree to marry them. 6 sessions, 1 hour each, in a small office at the back of the church, with 2 worn armchairs and a shelf of marriage books nobody ever seemed to borrow. The pastor leading them had counseled half the couples in that congregation over the past 20 years. He had seen, by now, exactly how these conversations tended to go. The first 2 sessions covered the usual ground. Communication, faith, what it means to lead a household together, and what it means to follow one. Lucas answered every question directly, the same way he answered everything. Carefully, honestly, without performing for anyone in the room. Valerie answered just as honestly. She just answered differently, in a softer voice, choosing her words the way a person does when they're not entirely sure yet what they actually think. In the 3rd session, the pastor asked a question he asked every couple, almost as a formality.
Have you two talked about what kind of wedding you actually want?
Lucas answered first, without hesitating, the way a man answers a question he has already settled in his own mind.
Something simple. Something we can pay for ourselves, without owing anybody anything afterward.
Valerie nodded along as he spoke. She said she agreed, and sitting there, in that small office, she meant every word of it. But somewhere underneath the nodding, a small picture had already begun forming in her mind. It had more flowers in it than Lucas had described. A few more tables. A dress that cost more than simple usually allowed for. She hadn't asked for any of it. It had simply arrived, the way certain thoughts do, uninvited. She didn't say any of that out loud. Not that day. Lucas walked out of that session feeling like it had gone well. In his mind, the conversation was settled. There was nothing left to discuss. He had no idea that somewhere inside Valerie, a small seed had already been planted. And seeds, once planted, have a way of growing, whether anyone waters them on purpose or not. Wedding planning moves fast once a date is set, faster than either of them expected. Valerie and her friends started meeting after church most Sundays, spreading magazines and printed photos across a table at the coffee shop down the street. It was supposed to be fun. Most of the time, it was. But Valerie's closest friends had all seen the same things Lucas's coworkers had. The good job, the paid-off car, the nice apartment. To them, it was simple math.
Girl, if I had a man with Lucas's job, I would not be doing a small wedding. Not even a little bit.
Valerie laughed it off the first few times someone said something like that. But it kept coming. A friend would pull up a photo from someone else's wedding on her phone. String lights, a live band, a dress with a long train, and ask, almost innocently, whether Valerie was planning anything like it.
You deserve that too, you know. Especially marrying someone like him.
Then there was her father. He had liked Lucas from the very first Sunday dinner they'd shared. But one evening, over coffee at his kitchen table, he brought up the wedding the way a proud father does, already picturing it in his mind.
A man in Lucas's position, he'll want to give you something to remember. I know he will.
Valerie didn't correct him. In that moment, she wasn't even sure she needed to. Lucas wasn't in the room for any of these conversations. Not the coffee shop, not her father's kitchen table. He had no idea any of it was happening. Nobody in her life had actually sat down and looked at Lucas's real bank account. Nobody had asked. They had looked at what he seemed to have from the outside and quietly assumed the rest. And little by little, without a single person meaning any real harm, that assumption started becoming Valerie's own. Something was building in her that even she hadn't fully admitted yet, and it wasn't going to stay quiet much longer. Their sixth and final counseling session ended that night, right after a closing Bible study that had left the whole room feeling lifted. Lucas walked Valerie to his car, still smiling from it. They sat there for a moment before he started the engine. Then Valerie broke the silence.
Lucas, can we talk about the wedding again? For real this time?
A small knot formed in Lucas's chest. He thought they'd already settled this.
We already talked about this last week. Why now, after tonight?
I know. I'm just uncomfortable. What you're suggesting is not enough.
She looked down at her hands before she said the rest.
We are children of an excellent God. We deserve an excellent wedding, not a wishy-washy one.
Lucas's chest tightened further. What he said next cost him something, even though his voice stayed calm.
In that case, can we postpone it?
Postpone what?
The wedding.
Which wedding?
Our wedding.
Are you joking right now? After the invitations are already out?
Since we can't afford the wedding you're dreaming of. For now, I think that being said...
He didn't get to finish. Valerie was already crying.
Why are you treating me this way? Why?
No, please don't cry.
He didn't get to finish that either. Somewhere between one breath and the next, her tears turned to something colder.
Thank you. Good night.
She got out of the car before he could say another word and started walking.
Sister Valerie, wait!
She didn't turn around. Lucas sat there alone in the car for a long time afterward, wondering if love was supposed to feel this heavy this early. Lucas sat at his kitchen table long after midnight, a notepad in front of him, trying to think his way out of the problem like the accountant he was. He ran the numbers again. Could he ask for an advance on his salary? Could he pick up extra hours somewhere? Could a bank loan cover the difference without burying him in interest? None of it worked fast enough. The wedding was too close. Then a quieter thought surfaced. Not a suggestion, just a fact at first. Temptation.
You're the one everyone trusts with the money. Nobody double checks what you sign off on.
Lucas noticed the thought and didn't like where it was standing. That's not a solution. That's a door you don't want to open. But the thought didn't leave. It just got quieter and more specific. Temptation.
Hold some of it for a few weeks. Replace it before anyone checks. That's not stealing.
And if you spend it on the wedding, what's left to replace it with? That question should have ended it. For a moment, it almost did. Then the other voice found a different angle. Temptation.
9 years of honesty has to count for something. Just this once isn't an offense. You need it. Even God can see that this isn't the same as stealing.
Lucas sat with that for a long time, turning it over the way he turned over every number that had ever passed through his hands. It's still wrong. You already know that. He did know it. But knowing it, tonight, didn't feel like enough anymore. The next day, at the office, Lucas could barely focus on anything. Every number on his screen turned back into the same question by the end of it. That evening, he sat down at his laptop and logged into the company's accounting portal. The transfer screen was already open. The account number, the amount, everything filled in except one final click. His hand rested on the mouse. Temptation.
What are you afraid of? Nobody will ever find out. Even God knows you have no other choice.
His finger hovered there. $10,000 left the company account and landed in his own, quiet and clean, exactly the way the voice had promised it would. He didn't feel relief. He told himself he would, once the wedding planning was finally settled, and this was all just a number he'd quietly correct later. He almost believed it. Over the next few weeks, the money went out in pieces. A deposit for a rented hall, a caterer, booked and half paid. A band, hired for 2 hours instead of the 4 Valerie had originally wanted. At the tasting, Valerie smiled at the food and said it was lovely. It was. It just wasn't quite what she'd been picturing. Even with $10,000 that was never his, Lucas still couldn't quite reach the number in Valerie's head. The theft hadn't even bought the thing it was committed for. For 6 weeks, nothing happened. Lucas told himself the worst was over, and the wedding was still weeks away. Then a vendor payment bounced. It was routine, at first. The kind of thing that happens in any accounting department. A payment scheduled, a payment that didn't clear. Someone flagged it, expecting a simple fix. But the fix didn't come easily. The money that should have covered it wasn't where it was supposed to be. Richmond called a meeting the following morning. Everyone in accounting who touched company funds sat around the same table, and none of them knew, yet, that one of them was about to lose everything.
Someone in this room can explain where $10,000 went. I intend to find out who, and I intend to find out today.
Nobody in that room was named. Not yet. But for the first time in 9 years, people were looking at each other's work instead of trusting it. And somewhere in that room, Lucas sat very still, doing what he had always done best, the math. The investigation didn't stay quiet for long. Within a week, 3 accountants had been called into Richmond's office, one at a time, and asked to explain transactions that weren't theirs to explain. 2 of them were cleared by the end of the day. The third wasn't so lucky. Raymond, Red, to everyone who knew him, had worked 2 desks down from Lucas for 6 years. He had a wife, 2 kids in elementary school, and a mortgage he talked about more than he probably should have. Richmond suspended him with pay, pending a full review. Red didn't fight it. He just looked tired, the way a man looks when something unfair has happened to him, and he's not sure yet how unfair it's about to get. Lucas watched him clear out his desk. That night, the 2 voices came back. Temptation.
It's not permanent. He's still getting paid. This isn't the same as what would happen to you.
Conscience.
He has 2 kids and a mortgage. You have a guilty conscience. Those aren't close to the same weight.
Lucas didn't sleep. He kept picturing Red's face, packing a cardboard box like a man who'd done something wrong, when the only thing he'd actually done wrong was work near someone who had. Temptation.
Confessing now doesn't undo what already happened to him. It only adds you to the damage.
Conscience.
Staying silent doesn't protect him either. It just makes you a coward on top of everything else.
By morning, Lucas had made a decision. Not the easy one. Not the one that protected him. For the first time since he'd clicked that button, the man who had spent 9 years being trusted with other people's money finally did something to deserve it again. He picked up the phone. Lucas didn't call a lawyer. He didn't call his family first either. He went straight to Richmond's office and asked for 5 minutes. Richmond looked up from his desk, already tired from a week of an investigation that wasn't going anywhere. He had no idea he was about to solve it himself.
It was me. I took the $10,000. Nobody else had anything to do with it.
Richmond didn't say anything at first. He just sat there, looking at a man he had trusted completely for 9 years, trying to make the sentence fit the person.
Why are you telling me this now? Because Red lost his job over something he never did. I couldn't let that stand. I respect that you came forward. I do. But respect isn't the same as forgiveness, Lucas. You stole from this company.
Lucas nodded. He hadn't expected anything else. The police were called that same afternoon. Lucas didn't resist, didn't argue, didn't ask for a lawyer to soften what came next. He answered every question the same way he'd always answered questions at that company, honestly. Word moved through the office fast. Some colleagues felt sorry for him. A few felt betrayed. Most felt both at once and didn't know what to do with that. Red heard before his shift ended. He didn't say much. He just sat there for a long moment, turning the news over the way a man turns over something that doesn't add up and never quite will. By the end of the day, Lucas was in custody. Nobody outside that building knew yet. That was about to change. By the time Lucas's story reached the local news, someone had already noticed the irony and couldn't resist it. Respected accountant arrested for embezzlement, wedding set for next week. It ran on the 6 o'clock broadcast. By morning, half the church had seen it, and the other half had heard about it from someone who had. There was no restitution to offer. The money hadn't been hidden somewhere, waiting to be returned. It was already gone. A venue deposit, a caterer, a band, spent on a day that was never going to happen now. The venue called first, asking, carefully, whether they should still expect a wedding party the following Saturday. Valerie's father called the venue back and canceled it himself. He couldn't bring himself to let Valerie make that call. 200 invitations had gone out months earlier, each one promising a wedding. Now 200 phone calls and messages went out instead, each one taking it back. The dress stayed in its garment bag, untouched, tags still on it, hanging in a closet that suddenly had nowhere to send it. Lucas heard about the cancellation the same way he heard everything now. Secondhand, through a guard, through a phone call he wasn't allowed to make himself. He had spent $10,000 trying to give Valerie a wedding worth remembering. He had succeeded, in the end, just not in any way he had meant to. Somewhere in that same city, Valerie was already giving her own account of what happened. It was not the same account Lucas would have given. Valerie didn't go looking for a way to explain herself. People came looking for her instead. The women from her old wedding planning group, church members who meant well and asked anyway. A local reporter who called twice before she stopped answering. She told all of them roughly the same story.
I never asked him to steal anything. I told him plainly I wanted something simple.
It wasn't entirely a lie. She really had said those words once in a counseling office and meant them at the time. What she left out was everything that came after that. The friends, the photos, her own father's voice at his kitchen table. She left out the version of herself that had wanted more and had let Lucas feel that wanting without ever naming it directly. She didn't visit him, not once. She told herself it was because seeing him would only make things harder for both of them. She almost believed that too. Within a month, she was seeing someone new, a man from a different church, someone who had heard only the parts of the story that made her the victim in it. Grief usually takes its time. Valerie's didn't. And somewhere in that fact was a truth she wasn't ready to look at yet. Some people can move through a tragedy so quickly because they were never as deep inside it as they let everyone believe. Red visited a few weeks after the arrest. While Lucas was still waiting for his court date, 2 other co-workers came with him. The kind of people who show up not because it's easy, but because staying away felt worse. Lucas looked smaller across the visitation table. Not physically. Just quieter somehow, like a man who had finally stopped performing for anyone.
I'm not here to ask why. I already know you're sorry. I just wanted you to know I came.
Lucas nodded. For a long moment, nobody said anything. Then, because Red had always been the kind of friend who earned the truth instead of demanding it, Lucas told him all of it. The pressure Valerie had been under, the night in the car, the 2 voices that had argued in his kitchen until one of them won.
I'm not blaming her. I made the choice. I just want you to understand how it happened.
He said her name carefully, without any edge in it. He wasn't trying to make anyone hate her. He was just, for the first time in months, telling the truth all the way through. Red didn't repeat it to punish anyone. He mentioned it once, quietly, to his wife that night, the way people talk about things that are still sitting heavy on them. His wife mentioned it to a friend. That friend went to the same church Valerie now attended. Truth has a way of moving through small rooms, whether anyone means for it to or not. Nobody in that chain was trying to hurt Valerie. They were only doing what people do with a story that finally makes sense. By the following Sunday, half the congregation had heard some version of it. The courtroom was smaller than Lucas had imagined it would be. No stained glass, no pulpit, just fluorescent light and a judge who had heard 1,000 stories like his and would hear 1,000 more. Richmond didn't come. He'd already said what he needed to say back in his office the day Lucas confessed, and he'd sent the court a written statement instead of sitting through a conversation he didn't need to have twice. Valerie didn't come either. She knew the date. Everyone around her did. She chose not to be there anyway. The woman whose dream had set all of this in motion never once sat in that room to see what it actually cost. Red did. He sat in the back row, the same quiet presence he'd been since the day he showed up at the visitation table. The judge read the charges, the plea, the restitution that would never be possible because the money was already gone into deposits nobody could return. Then she asked if Lucas had anything to say before sentencing. He stood.
I'm not going to make excuses. I made a choice, and I own every part of it.
His voice didn't shake. He had rehearsed this moment enough times in his cell that the words came out steady, even though nothing about saying them felt easy.
If there's a young man out there feeling the same pressure I felt, I hope he hears this. Whatever you're afraid of losing is smaller than what you'll actually lose.
He didn't mention Valerie. Not her name, not the wedding, not the pressure that had started all of it. That part of the story belonged to him to carry, not to hand to a room full of strangers as an excuse. The judge sentenced him to 18 months. Lucas nodded once, like a man accepting a number on a balance sheet he already knew wouldn't come out in his favor. Red watched them lead him out and thought, for the first time since all of this started, about how much the last year had cost, and how little of that cost anyone would ever be able to see just by looking at him. Word travels fast in a small community. Faster, sometimes, than the people it's about ever expect. Valerie's new relationship moved quickly. An engagement. Within 4 months, his family had already begun planning. Then his mother made one phone call to a cousin who happened to attend the same church Valerie once did, just to ask, casually, if anyone there knew the family. She got an answer she wasn't expecting. Within 2 weeks, his family sat him down. They told him plainly, they would not welcome a woman like that into their family. Not after what she had done to the man she was supposed to marry. He broke it off. He didn't fight his family on it. Valerie never got a real explanation, only silence and a ring that came back to her in the mail. It happened again a few months later with someone else, and a third time, the year after that. Each time, the pattern held a promising start and then a quiet retreat once the full story caught up. Valerie never understood why it kept happening to her. She never once asked herself the question that might have told her. Lucas served his time quietly. He read. He prayed. He wrote letters to Valerie that he never sent. He had already let go of blaming her. He wasn't sure she had ever really looked at her own part in it. Some men come out of prison worse than they went in. Some men come out having finally met themselves for the first time. Nobody yet knows which kind of man Lucas will turn out to be. Here's what this story actually teaches. For a man like Lucas, pressure explains a fall, but it never excuses it. Whatever you're afraid of losing by standing firm is almost always smaller than what you'll lose by giving in instead. For a woman like Valerie, the people you pressure into wrongdoing may forgive you long before you ever learn to forgive yourself. And the truth you leave behind has a way of catching up, no matter how far or how fast you run from it. And for anyone watching, the shortcut always costs more than it was ever meant to avoid. The people who pressure you toward compromise rarely stay to help you carry what it costs. 200 invitations went out for a wedding that never happened. Word, it turned out, had a way of arriving just ahead of the wedding invitations. Prison isn't always where a man's story ends. Sometimes it's where it actually begins. If you were sitting exactly where Lucas was sitting right now, tell us in the comments what you would have done. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share to bless others. Thank you.
Pastor Welter!
Oh my God, what have I done?
My Queen Mother.
You have never failed me. That is why I am sending you. You will enter through the church. You will become useful in the ministry. You will serve quietly until they trust you.
My Queen Mother, your word is my command.
Do not disappoint me.
I will not fail you, my Queen Mother.
Then go.